I remember my grandfather telling me, solutions are always going to be inside. Doesn't matter how much you're going to try to change outside, but solutions always be inside. So I felt the lack, like, I didn't feel 100%. I didn't, you're living a life, but you're not feeling 100%.
Parveen, you guys, is like, so we met, Parveen. So we're going to do the live a little unconventionally right now, because I just want to
I love
let
it.
everyone know like how we met. So you interviewed me, I think, for a written piece on Medium, right? Or
Correct.
Authority.
Authority, right?
Yeah. So and this was like, I don't know, maybe 3 years ago. It's been a while. It's been a minute since we did that. And sometimes you just connect with people, and like they're amazing people. There's good energy. There's just something. And that was kind of how it was like with Parveen. He so kind as do we call it editor? What's the technical term for that? I don't know, but your position or as a writer. Okay, I'm really brain. But he was just so kind, and loved the piece, and we stayed in touch, and he reached out to me because he felt like we had so many overlapping just not even commonalities, passions. We both are so passionate about health, but from kind of the same perspective, from this holistic perspective, where it encompasses more than just diet and exercise. And we kind of bonded over that. So today I'm going to have, I'm going to I'm going to stop chatting so much. I'm going to have Parveen kind of tell us his journey, because he's the founder of Ziva Health, which is kind of exactly encompasses what I was just saying. They've got these 4 beautiful pillars of what health is, and it's and it's mind, it's body, it's soul, and it's breath. So I'm going to let Parveen kind of give us a little bit of background on his journey, which is amazing. You guys, he can plank for like 2 hours, or maybe it's 20 minutes. Either way, it's about 20,000 times more than I can. And then let's get started on this.
No, definitely. Thank you, Serena, for having me here. Hi, everyone. So that's a great question. I think each one of us have our own journeys, and our journeys make us who we are. I mean, especially what we have been through, what we have learned throughout, and where we stand today is a buildup of everything that happens throughout our life. So I'm just going to give you a quick snapshot from my childhood, so where I am right now. So I was born in an amazing family, but my dad had alcohol addiction, and I saw that basically throughout growing up. But I was very blessed that my mom and my grandfather were basically teaching us, in the Indian environment, ritual of breathing, understanding the breath, understanding how to control your emotions, and everything else. And growing up, what happens is you go from one black hole to another black hole. So what is, I went to Australia to do my engineering, and I've forgotten about all those things, like all the great breathing techniques and everything else, because we get away from it, right? We see something else, like, because the life changes so fast, like you forget the greatness, like things that we bring from India, all the meditation, the cold rituals, the spices, the herbs, and all those, right? So and then I got into, like, in a working state. Basically, I kind of, again, I found myself even going through a hard childhood, then lost myself again in basically just trying to get into, like, entrepreneurship, and trying to chase the dream of the world, which is chase high, like in terms of, like, have an American dream, basically have a great house and things like that. But then that's when I started my journey in terms of, like, entrepreneurship. I was in media, and I was basically not sleeping much. I was going outside and parties and drinking. And somewhere inside, you know what? I remember my grandfather telling me, solutions are always going to be inside. You got doesn't matter how much you're going to try to change outside, but solutions always be inside. So I felt the lack, like, I didn't feel 100%. I didn't, you're living a life, but you're not feeling 100%. And that's how I felt. So, and then from there, I went to real estate, and then I was talking to other entrepreneurs, and same, I'm pretty much bouncing myself with other entrepreneurs because same level of thinking. We don't have recovery rituals. We don't follow certain things. And then later on, as we go older, somehow we happen to use the money that we've earned now to fix ourselves. And that all, everything started me on a journey of started thinking, what, really, let me go back to my roots. What was I really passionate about? I was passionate about breathing. I was about, like, recovery, those ritual, amazing Indian rituals, Ayurveda. And I was passionate about nutrition. Like, my mom used to make the best dals and lent all those great things, right? So I got inspired, like, all these people that I'm talking to, everyone has their own journey.
Yeah.
And right now we're in a world of technology that we have so many amazing podcasts, we have so many amazing things. But until we take the step further on that journey, we're never gonna be basically able to make that change. So that's where inspired me. You know what? This is where I want to be. I mean, that makes me happy. I don't want anything. I just want healthy people, good vibration. And that was one of the great things that connected me with you, because when we connected, we spoke, our energy and, our frequency was so high. I mean, frequency of appreciation, gratitude, compassion. I mean, these are the building blocks of who we are. The problem is we move away from it, and that's when we see all the consequences in different parts of our body and mind. And that's what I loved about, how we got connected and, your journey. And I just try to be more concise rather than having elaborative 30 minutes about my journey. But the idea was, I started facing some health issues. My digestive system wasn't very great. I do come from an anxious family, and
Mine
so,
too.
and
Yeah.
I started to get really anxious on different things. And then when I realized, I have to be able to go more deeper inside. And I think change the way we all view health. And that's where Ziva Health was born. My mother-in-law passed away due to cancer. My dad obviously had a damaged liver, and then he had diabetes and all those things. So I saw a lot of chronic diseases in my family. And then talking to so many friends and their lifestyle, it inspired me to bring Ziva to life. And by Ziva, it means, in Hebrew, Ziva means radiance and brightness.
Yeah.
So the goal was, let's bring radiance and brightness through education, through tools, and give people the biggest power, which is the power of health and power of good mind.
Yes. Oh, so beautiful. And I love it when you describe what Ziva is, because I've talked about it, of course, just among colleagues and in the community. And, it's really, it's such a, and of course, I've got what I do, we've got our Serena Loves app, we've got our programs. It's really all about personalizing and focusing on that personalized holistic system. And, there's so many different ways to do it. And I think that's what you've brought to life, with the sort of tangibles and intangibles, so to speak, like bringing us back to this focus on our breath. Breath is so powerful, and we forget. You remind me of we've had some really beautiful conversations. Not that I share them in whole with the community, but the principles that came through in our conversations were just that we sometimes we get sort of swooped into the hustle and bustle of life and of achievement and our goals, and we do lose this reverence for ourselves, and our health. And even, as my journey began, as just as a caretaker, it doesn't really matter what reasons there are. It's just we kind of forget. And And breath is something that's so powerful, and one of the 4 pillars of Ziva, which I love so much, because we forget to breathe, you know, in our most anxious moments, in our stress moments, in the moments where we need to breathe and breath, and we need to kind of go within the most, we forget. And that activation, you know, it's tangible, it's physical, but we don't need to go out and do something. You know, we don't need to have someone do something for us. It's just bringing it back in. And so that was one of the things that I found, it's so powerful. And then of course, you know, I'm such a big believer of nutrition, and then of, you know, just mental wellness and of movement. And so, you know, I love with, there's so many different products and services in this space, right? Like in this health and wellness space. And I love that the journey of yours began with your own. You know, it's like Ziva's another child, right? It's like it's another baby in a way. Um, so thank you for sharing your journey. You know, I would love if you could share with everyone, just because you've kind of like gone full circle. You know, you're like in Silicon Valley, you did all these things, you lived the life that many of us have also maybe feel guilty about, and then you circled yourself back. What were the most, what were the most powerful rituals and practices initially, you know, because it kind of evolves and you sort of figure out what it is that you love, but what brought you back? You know, was it the food? Was it kind of tuning back into, you know, your mom's food? Was it breath work? Was it, what brought you back to sort of like take a back, you know, kind of take yourself back?
I think, um, thank you for asking this question. It's a great question. There's few ways people come back. The way I came back was, you know, I was having this moment where someone wrote me a very, very, very bad email.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized it's called, by the way, if many of you don't know, it's a very, most people, a lot of people have called, you must have heard of sleep apnea, but there's also something called email apnea. So I just want to, so what happens when you see a bad email, like, you know, these are the lions and tigers chasing us in our society.
Yeah.
So we being chosen, you know, no real lion. It's like emails and all these bad messaging and what's going on, your boss and, you know, your partners or, you know, your co-founders. So I got this email and then I realized I, I was having a hard time breathing.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized I was holding, you know, I was holding my breath because, you know, when you're surprised, oh, like this.
Yeah.
So I kept holding my breath. And what was happening is I was holding my breath unconsciously.
Yeah.
And so what was happening is it was making me more and more anxious.
Mm-hmm.
And it made me realize, you know, afterward, because I didn't feel good the whole night, I was like, you know, I started finding meaning. What is the meaning of my life? I mean, I can be like, you know, so easily I can be brought down by one email.
Yeah.
Kind of
Yeah.
started the whole thing in terms of like, you know, really some changes needs to be made. I mean,
Yeah.
this is not who I am. Like, you know, I was really, my body systems, everything was shattered by one email. Like, you know, and that really was an eye opener. Like, you know, how these small things, and now that's one email. Now let's talk about getting those emails 5 times a week.
Yeah. 10 times a day, you know, if you have multiple companies. Uh, you know, I really appreciate you sharing that, Parveen, because it's so relatable. And I feel like something that people don't often either talk about, because it might seem shameful, embarrassing, like, you know, you have this beautiful or ungrateful, you know, beautiful life, beautiful family, you know, living in wherever you are, you're in California, but for someone else. And it's just, and the fact that we can let something shift our energy and our field, and our mental wellness, you know, our sympathetic, you know, from a parasympathetic to a sympathetic system so quickly. I think this happens to people every single day. So whether it's an email or someone cut you off, in the driving, or someone cut you off in the line for coffee, or just whatever it is. I think that we're all so susceptible to those things. Um, and I think that that's like each time that happens, as you say, you have this realization. It's such a great reset in that moment. It's just sort of like, wait 1 second. I was in this state, and now in this state. One of my business partners and co-founders, exactly the same. I mean, it could be, we could have just had, an amazing investment meeting, and then an email comes in, and then it's just shift. And when you talk about how you held your breath, if you could talk about that a little bit more, and how that, helped you put a focus towards breath work. It's so powerful, the ability to breathe.
No,
Go ahead, please.
yeah, I can share. So you mentioned about holding the breath.
Mm-hmm.
I think in life, when we do things consciously, we are in control.
Yes.
So I just give you an example. These days, a lot of people are doing ice baths. Yeah. I mean, I knew ice bath, 20 years ago in Himalaya, Indian yogis, they sit in the eye. And trust me, they're very happy. And they don't do ice bath for 10 minutes. They actually, right?
Yes, good point.
So when we look at, even like a small example, if someone forced you down an ice bath, you will panic, because obviously you're doing it unconsciously, and something that you're not willingly doing it. Whereas if you learn to go slowly in the ice bath, you will be much better able to control your environment and control your emotional and your response to it. The same thing, when we consciously hold breath, the amazing benefit of it, intermittent hypoxia, I call it. You increase your red blood cells, and your innate immune system improves. There's a lot of great benefits in learning how to. But once again, example, when you are unconsciously holding your breath, then there are certain things happen in your body which basically are not good for you, because you're pretty much like, when we are in a state of panic, what happens? When someone panics, either they're hyperventilating a lot, or they're holding the breath and they can't breathe.
Yeah.
So basically, the idea is, in a harmonic state, the best way of breathing is in three things you have to remember is the breathing needs to be slow. So when you hear someone breathing, when you ask someone to take a deep breath and when they do this, well, this is not a deep breath. I hate to break it, but this is not a deep breath. A deep breath is effortless. A deep breath is slow. And a deep breath is through your diaphragm. That means deep. So this is the definition of deep breath. So what happens is, when we slowly, as we grow and we have all these emails coming through, we have a lifestyle where we are scared, oh my God, what's going to happen with this business? And we're always in a state of fear. So we start holding the breath, and the breath moves from the stomach to the chest. That's how, and what happens is there's a feedback loop going on. The more you breathe this way, the more you have those thoughts. The more those have thoughts, the breathing becomes worse, and the chain reaction starts and doesn't stop. So one of the things what I do is, and I'm still human, so I still have those emails, and sometimes I still have those states of panic. But what I've learned is, I'm never going to be able to take the stress away. I'm never going to be able to completely remove the panic. I think stress is part of human life, and that will always. But what I can learn is, I can learn the techniques, and I can learn how to respond to the stress rather than react. And I think this was a big learner, because a lot of places you go, people are like, oh, I'll get rid of the stress, and then you won't have any stress. I think that's because we're telling people wrong things. Whereas one thing is, stress is part of your life. There's two types of stress. Positive stress is great for your longevity and everything else.
Yeah, exactly.
And you would never be able to get rid of it. And then the idea is, you have the power and you have the tools. How to manage is the best. And that's what I focused on learning, and breathing was one of the biggest power. So once again, one of the biggest thing I focus on is to breathe slowly. And I'll just give you a small example. Like, you can just breathe through the back, just simply,
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it right now. Let's teach them, because I really feel is one of the most powerful underutilized tools that we have, you know.
Yeah.
And personally, I've been, as you know, I've been traveling for about 4.5 months, you know, from hotel to planes, you know, sort of living out of a suitcase, and a lot of in a lot of environments where there can be those external stresses, and breath and breathing is something that I personally have been utilizing a lot more, especially in the recent weeks. And of course, talking to you so much, and the Ziva platform has also encouraged me to do so. So I would love if right now you could just sort of like walk us through how you breathe when you are in those moments.
So once again, there are various combinations. So what we're going to talk about is the basic, because people need to start from the basic to get somewhere in terms of how to use it from, right? So the first thing is always breathe through the nose. I mean, there are some breathing you can, for example, like, you know, you had probably heard Wim Hof breathing and stuff, you know, but normally always breathe through your nose. I mean, there are tremendous benefit. I always tell people, please don't mind, but shut your mouth.
Yes.
And very polite about it, because that's the best thing they can do. So breathe through the nose. Second thing is you always breathe through your diaphragm. So you can put your hand on your belly and slowly breathe through the diaphragm. Now, the third thing is you always have to breathe slow. So for example, we're going to do a very small breath, up to 4 seconds, for example, up, and then very slow and effortless. So let's take it through. So let's start. So if you need a 4 second and you hold it the breath right now for just another few seconds, and then you release the breath either through your nose or your mouth very slowly. Now that breathing is effortless.
Yeah.
That's what a breathing is. If you see a child that is born, a child will show you the right way of breathing, because this is the natural way of breathing. But as we grow, the different emotions, different lifestyle, different food habits, it takes, and the breathing becomes shallow, and it becomes from here. So the first step is always, you basically breathe through the belly and you go slowly without making noise, and you slowly come down. Either you can use your mouth or your nose to release the breath. And that's how a normal breathing should be like. Now, if you practice this breath, for example, for 6 times up and 6 times down, which is the total suggested breath normally should be 6 breaths per minute. Now, there's lots of studies done on that in terms of HRV, in terms of diabetes and chronic disease. And they found out the slow breathing can really help in many ways. So this is the first basic step. Just slow down your breathing, go deep, and you're not going to learn in one day. The idea is consciously interfere. So while you're sitting down, just say, how am I breathing? And then again. So you are consciously programming slowly, day by day, your body and your mind and your subconscious mind to learn how you need to breathe. And when you see yourself going sideways, you just have to intervene and again do that. And that's what meditation is.
Yeah.
You know, it's all about, you can't stop thought. Meditation, you know, some people want to grab a hammer and like hammer all the thoughts.
You can't
It's
do
not.
that.
I learned long time ago, a lot of excuses that I used to use was, and many people, I can't meditate because I can't focus. That's a typical. Right?
Oh, I hear it all the time as I teach people. I agree. It's so, you know, thank you so much, Parveen. It really is so powerful. And I know that there, you know, some people, it sounds so simple. I mean, I do what I call the 444, which is what I lead when I lead people into meditation or into Reiki or into, you know, anything with breath. Someone asked, do I hold the breath for a count of 6 as well? You can, you know, I do 4, but it's just really focusing on you, you know, focusing on your breath, being very intentional, you know, and you can count it out. So count of 4 helps, count of 6 helps. You know, I think you can actually, over time, you develop, you know, you strengthen your lungs, and you can, you know, hold for longer and breathe in deeper with practice. But that's a great start, you know, to the person that asked. Can't tell what the name is. But yeah.
Or somebody's asking, do we hold the breath? Yeah, okay, gotcha. Yes, yeah. So by the way, there are many additions to the breath. So if I'm give you a small, what do I use for breath for? I use my breath for any hiccups. I don't take medicines. I use my breath for any hiccups. For example, sometimes we have hiccups. Sometimes we have acidity, we have heartburn. Mm-hmm. I use the breathing techniques even to remove the heartburn. Mm-hmm. I use the breathing techniques for different areas. Like there are different types of breathing techniques. And the one you're mentioning about 4-4-4, I mean, it's a great way to start the breathing techniques in terms of you're not holding too long because, and slowly you're learning, to go in a rhythm. Mm-hmm. And the rhythm should be the same. So if you want to do 5-5, it's great because the rhythm is same way. Or you can do 4-8 when you want to basically activate the parasympathetic response amount of exhalation.
Mm-hmm. There's so much, and and then and there's a lot of this information that's on the platform too, just like how to guide people, and there's so much, but this is like something that I think is really powerful and a great start. And another thing that I love about the breath, and I know I'm focusing so much on it, I just know I love giving people takeaways when they leave a chat or an interview. And this is something you can do anytime. You can do it while you're watching us and while you're listening to Parveen. You can do it when you're in the car. You don't have to go to a gym. You can do it anywhere, anytime. And this is just a basic. There's so many different ways to do it, in ways we can activate different parts of our brain and different parts of our body. So thank you, for that and that example and kind of where that came from. What are some of your other everyday rituals? Because you are literally one of the healthiest people that I know, and so inspiring on so many levels, because it's not just your body, it is your mind, right? And then of course what you eat and how you eat. So I would love if you could share some of your other sort of rituals and daily practices that people can implement and it won't seem too overwhelming.
No, exactly. I'll share some. And by the way, some people who ask about the breathing, just to finish on that comment.
Yes, of course.
Ziva app will have 80 different types of breathing for different conditions, for example, like sleep, the apnea part and all those. So you would have everything in such an easy way that you'll be able to use breath for many things. Even you will be able to replace, I think in some way, once you practice more, actually quite a bit of a medicine just by learning about the breath.
Yes.
And you asked me about my ritual. So I think ritual is what makes who we are. Yeah. I mean, honestly, the ancient rishis and gurus and yogis, they were all about ritual. I think it's such an amazing thing to have great rituals. So my ritual starts early in the morning. So either it's 6 o'clock or 6:30. Mm-hmm. So the first thing, once I'm freshen up, the first thing I do is I do breathing. Yeah. I need to 25 minutes of breathing, and I go through various breathing practices. For example, I do fast breathing, it's basically it's called Kapalbhati in pranayama terms, very fast breathing. Then I do twisted breathing. It's very important for your body to twist and then inhale and exhale. Then I go into the slow breathing. Then I go into lung, breathing for lung capacity. You can go grab your ribs. And instead of only breathing in for 5 seconds, try to breathing for 20 seconds, very slowly though. And you expand your, then I go into holding my breath, and then I go into, I just end my breathing with humming.
I love it.
Routine every morning. Once I'm in a
How long does it take for you to do that? What's your practice? Is it 20 minutes? Is it an hour? How long?
Breathing practice is anywhere between 25 to 30 minutes. Now, it's been 5 years, and I have to tell you guys, I've never missed once.
Wow.
Not once. Not on the airplane. Not because I know breathing is my power. We normally breathe between 17,000 times to 22,000 times.
Yes.
This is the only thing we do the most.
Yes.
And if we can use it to thrive rather than survive, guess what? It's our power.
Yeah.
So I start my day with the breathing. Now, breathing puts me in meditative state.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm in very calm, everything, and that's when I get into the meditation
Mm-hmm.
for about 15 to 20 minutes, right after I finish my breathing session.
Mm-hmm.
Now, once I've done that, and once again, people who are listening, you do not have to do my routine or my heavy. You can even do breathing for 5 minutes. It's so powerful.
Yeah.
Your body gets alkaline, like your
Mm-hmm.
whole alkaline, your whole cells, everything inside your body is saying thank you, because you are giving it the oxygen it deserves, and you're there with that. Coffee replacement.
Yes.
Don't do coffee in the morning. Instead of that, you can just do this. Do 15 of this, really powerful inhale and exhalation. I promise you would not need a coffee. So
true.
I start with the breathing, then I get into the meditation. After I get out of the meditation in a very peaceful way. Then I do my asana. So I get into sun salutation, and once again, there have been a lot of people have been talking about you have to see the sun within 2 hours of getting up to set your circadian rhythm. And some, I'm in California. I'm grateful that I get to see the sun very often. So in the morning, I do some of the stretching and yoga routines after my meditation. And once again, they are also in addition to helping with breathing, because I use breath work to do that. And so when I finish my meditation routine, I could, because I want to spend some time with my kids and and my yoga, and then after that I quickly go and jump into the cold shower. And after cold shower, I quickly jump into a 3 minutes ice bath. After I finish my ice bath, then I go into 10 to 20 minutes plank. And that's my part of my meditation too, because if I do plank without a meditation, I'm going to be hurt after 2 minutes. But because I'm planking, I'm doing body scan. So when I'm planking, I'm just scanning my body. I'm bringing attention to different parts of my body. I'm relaxing my body. So by this time, it's about 8 o'clock. At 8 o'clock, I go with my kids and I spend time with them. They have breakfast. I don't have, I normally, I don't want to call it intermittent fasting, because I feel like this is a kind of a really trendy word. I like to call it just no snacking. I mean, we just giving my digestive system and my body a rest. So my meal is at 7 o'clock, and from 7 o'clock till about 11 o'clock, I don't eat anything. And there's a science as now putting everything together. We are no snacking, because a lot of people just kind of like after 7 o'clock they snack at 8:30, then they snack at 9 o'clock, then 10 o'clock, eat Oreos and all that. So I cut my eating cycle at 7 o'clock, and I don't eat anything till 11 o'clock every day. So this is so I spend some time with my kids. I either have to drop my kids to school, and I come back. But then I start my day, and I'm very focused at that time, because I powered my body and my mind. I have given what it needs to start my day. And I think during the day, one of the biggest things everybody has to remember is I take frequent break. I don't like the idea of back-to-back meeting. Those very famous in Silicon Valley. Everybody is back-to-back, back-to-back, back-to-back. I like to give at least 3 minutes. I mean, I'm not saying I have meetings too, back-to-back meetings, but I just have 1 minute or 3 minutes break. So what I do is I just basically during the day, I will just sit down. I'll do one of the breathing routines for 1 minute, 2 minutes, and enough. That's great to put me back on the next meeting, because I want to give that person my best attention, my best self. I don't want to go to third meeting and say, by the way, I've been drained out by last 5 meetings, so I'm sorry, I'm bringing you my worst self. So that's why I follow, the breaks. And so one of the biggest thing also part of my routine is the movement throughout the day. And I have to tell you this, it's really important. A lot of people think if they have done the gym, that's it. I hate to break it to you, but the movement throughout the day is the key to how you live your life. If you do your ritual in the morning and you sit for 12 hours, so you have to. So every time I get a break, let's say I'm working on something. I have stairs at work.
Mm-hmm.
So I run the stairs for 5 minutes at full pace.
Wow.
Like my heart rate is, yes. I go up and down. So in the day, I climb about 3,000 stairs. It
Wow.
five,
Very impressive.
5 minutes you add together. And, it's just, even if it's like, and you run really fast, it's very easy, but you have to have dedication. You know what? I'm going to use that 5 minutes effectively to just run up and down, come back, and straight back to my computer or whatever I'm doing. So I think that's where I learned a lot of things, was that we do not put our body enough in stress, which is very important.
Yes, 100%.
And consciously, and that's what the amazing thing for longevity. So I intentionally my body, let me use the right term, through hormesis.
Hormesis, yeah, hormesis. So it's really about putting your body into a state of perceived adversity, and then that sort of triggers hormesis. Which is, as you said, we talk about excellent for longevity, for our longevity genes.
Exactly. So, and I think from that way on, I'm just going to give you evening routine. Is evening I do weights in the evening, because and I do about four times a week. Mm-hmm. And then I spend evening with my kids, put them to bed, and again I do the breathing with my kids, because I want to make sure they breathe and sleep with amazing thoughts and reflect on their day. Very, very important is to close your eyes, or you can have a journal, just kind of a reflection, and the reflection is always done from a third party perspective. I always am an observer of myself. I don't do reflection because I'm saying things about myself. I want to be able to see myself from an observer, like I am when I'm in meditation, like I am in different parts of my life. And then the reflection becomes so amazing, because then I could learn more. This is where I can become better.
Yeah.
That's where part of this ritual. And then breathing before sleeping. Oh my God. That has life. I mean, breathing before sleeping, I train intentionally. A lot of times people breathe through their mouth in the nighttime. So before sleeping, I create intention of sleeping. It's very important to create intention of sleep, because sleep is one of the most important building blocks of longevity, of how we feel, what we do, and everything else.
It's so true. Thank you so much for sharing. I think everyone on here is probably taking notes for how you do it, and it's incredible. I mean, something to just sort of like model ourselves after and aspire to. Not everyone sort of has their own journey, and everyone's body is different, so attune to what works for you. But this is such a great just a great model, to sort of like work from and reach for. Something that I really want to point out is that you are someone that your strength of mind, is so powerful, and clearly, because you have these rituals that you stick to. Under no circumstance do you not do your breath, because really there is no circumstance where it would make sense to not do your daily breath work. As you say, you can even do it on a plane. So that's something that, and I know, and again, it's something that Ziva offers, and you've talked about, that sort of like building those mental muscles. How did you, were you always someone that was just super disciplined, or did it come after the click? I know that you shared about some lifestyle and maybe like, that kind of time in your life where you made other decisions that you're aware of maybe weren't as good for you, but still that sort of strength of mind, did that come with that click, when you realize, or how did you cultivate that? Where discipline really is something that we all have to actively work on, to create those habits and rituals. And so, for myself, I obviously, you know me, I'm pretty strong, very strong mind and strong will. And at the same time, I will be the first to admit that I also procrastinate, and I put things off, and I have things where I still need to work on. my mental strength and that sort of muscle in different parts of my mind. So what how did you cultivate yours? And are there any practices and rituals? And I just like to point out to everyone on here, so much of Parveen is in Ziva, like, and that's why I want to talk about you so much, because that's all reflected in how it's set up, the way the platform teaches people, and all those gifts, they kind of they came through you first. So that's what I'd like to know.
No, definitely. I don't think so. I was very from start. I mean, based on some of the things, I was positive in phases, I would say. But in terms of discipline, I feel like my dad was a really disciplined person. Like he had those, even though he had the drinking issues, but he was very disciplined in things he wanted to do. So I think I had that in me at a smaller level, I would say, but not the discipline like I'm in right now. I mean, I can't even remember when I haven't done my breath work. It's been like so long. I mean, even
you're so disciplined.
that
you inspire me.
breath, it is very disciplined, like and especially cold therapies and few other things. I've been very, very disciplined, but I feel like what clicked is nothing can click in one day. I feel like one is like the feedback loop. So I want everyone to think about that. When we can have a feedback loop of stress, anxiety, and emotions back and back and back and back, keep getting stuck, we can have a same loop with our daily rituals and and how basically dedicated we are to our things. Here's why. When we crave for something and that thing give us a little bit of what we want, dopamine, when we crave for little things and we're like, oh, I want more. Now the problem is we've been craving for wrong things, sugar and Mountain Dew drinks, and right? And let me have this, and guess what? It will satisfy you. But after half an hour, it will need another level of satisfaction. And the thing is, and then you keep doing that, and then next thing we know is our body is not working naturally because we need this external stimulant to keep setting itself and purge. So what happened with some of this ritual, especially with breath, it started something that I did it for a few days, and then one day I forgot, and I did. So over time, what I realized is when I do it again and again, I get more, and it helps me, and I see a feedback loop, and that loop empowers me more to keep continuing on the journey. Very
amazing. So simple, so simple. I just want to acknowledge our community really quick. Thank you. We have such a beautiful community here. Everyone is so kind. So thank you guys for joining us today, for all your positive comments and feedback and questions. And just want to take a moment to acknowledge you guys. You guys have been so great, and I'm just so grateful. There's always such beautiful energy here when we join each other here in this space. So I know we've already kind of run over time a little bit, but I would love if you could just like talk a little bit more about Ziva, something that's so amazing. I'm so proud to be a member of your board. Thank you so much for including me in that. It's an honor and a privilege and a blessing, and I know there's so much more that we're going to create and do with it, but just to sort of give everyone the basics, so they can get started and get excited.
No, please, I'll give the basic, and I'll give a very small story, because so you can all align to where Ziva comes. A lot of time what happens is in our society, we have two types of things, like either sometimes when you go to doctors, they want to change certain things in your life. You are like, you need to change, you drop everything and change right now. And then certain times what happen is like, if someone is a vegan and somebody is not a vegan, the vegan person will go all agitated and be like, hey, you should be a vegan, this is wrong. And we don't see people. How do we meet them wherever they are in the journey? So one of the things I learned from Ziva, basically by establishing Ziva, is people are in different parts of the journey. My mom was having Indian tea for last 60 years, 3 times a day.
Mm-hmm.
And when she came here, and I'm like, you know what, I'm going to remove your tea completely. And I didn't realize that what I'm doing to her, because all I'm doing is I'm being just like a doctor, and sometimes, hey, completely off, but I'm not meeting her where she is in a journey.
Exactly.
So we started by saying, okay, you can have your morning tea, cut the one in the afternoon, and then you can have one in the evening. We started with this one. What about this now? You can have your morning without sugar, but you can still have it. And the second one in the evening, you can have with sugar. Slowly, then we are like, what about this? Maybe you can have one with something like, a protein bar that we make at home. And now you don't need sugar because we can put dark chocolate on it, and we can put some. So what I realized from that moment is my mom, who had so many issues going on in her health and different parts, when she started following these little things, I was able to meet her wherever she is in her journey. Whereas when she was in India, the doctor is like, you know what, your blood pressure is wrong, this is wrong, here's a tablet, and now you need to go on this thing. Nothing, right? Nothing to talk about diet, nothing to talk about anything else. So Ziva is basically a platform that understands wherever you are on your journey. Yes. So, and the idea is, we talked about daily ritual. So daily ritual is part of Ziva. So Ziva comes from education. So like you mentioned, how do I become like this person? I listen to a lot of podcasts, and there's so many scattered information. We don't all have time to go to 10 podcasts a day. In Ziva, we bring all information from all different amazing people around the world into small bites of information. For example, right now I mentioned about brain. So in Ziva, you might have a routine suggestion, which is like, give 3 minutes breaks between meeting, and we'll have a science study and show you why it's important for you. Now you add as part of the routine, and then you can check off, for example, yes, I took some breaks in the middle of my meeting. So Ziva is an education platform that combines both your physiological data and non-physiological data. For example, it will show you how your heart rate has been trending. It will show you how your HRV has been improving due to breathing. But at the same time, it will show you, for example, hey, Parveen, you had some amazing routine, but you haven't been completing them. So you can kind of see, right? And this will also give you a coaching introduction in terms of how some changes from recommendation can improve some of your vitals and some of your things that you do on a daily basis. For example, people join Ziva sometimes saying they have energy issues. So we might recommend some breathing exercises. We might recommend some nutrition tips. By the way, there is no recipes. It's more like introduction of, okay, you should be having turmeric in your. Now, how you make your dish is up to you. But we'll be recommending certain things, for example, right? And like, you should be trying elderberry. By the way, I love elderberry in some way, all those amazing things that you can add to your daily routine in terms of when it comes to movement, when it comes to nutrition and different things. And idea is to improve your lifestyle, meet where you are in your journey, prevent you from chronic diseases, and help manage you any condition, because Ziva platform is so smart. It has millions of data fed into it. So it understands where you are, and the suggestions will become more accurate as you go along. When it comes to education, every education is basically tied to an activity. So what that means is, in my world, and I think in your world too, Serena, if you learn something and you don't apply it, what does that mean?
It's just data. It's just info, and it's not as you have to execute, and it doesn't empower you if you just take that information and just store it and not do anything with it.
Exactly. Ziva will basically introduce the data, help you with your data, and at the same time give you suggestion to add to your routine, to your rituals, and basically become CEO of your own health. I want everyone to control, take charge, and live well. And once again, there are a lot of platforms out there, and they're amazing in different things. The way Ziva works in its recommendation, combining all your data, it will take all your devices, by the way. It will take. And if your routine, so I have to share one last thing about this amazing thing is, so we have a holistic activity as a part of routine. Mm-hmm. So let's say you guys went to sauna or went to acupuncture. We classify them as holistic activity. Yeah. The great thing about Ziva is if you add holistic activity as part of your routine, for example, weekly acupunctures or weekly saunas, Ziva will be able to track through your wearables after a holistic activity how your body is feeling, how your fit is, how your sleep is, and we'll be able to show you what impact certain activity has on your health. So combining both your physiological data and non-physiological data in giving you the total power. So that's,
I love it. It's amazing. I mean, this isn't out there, you know. That combination. Of course, you know, you can check your stats on things, but I think it's so powerful for you to know. All right, I'm going to acupuncture. I know I feel better after. The pain goes away. People say it's good for me. Serena talks about it a lot. But then to actually see those measurements reflected, you know, in your personal data, and then you see, oh, my HRV went up, you know, my heart rate went down, my oxygen saturation actually increased, you know. So just for example, those things are powerful tools, and in very powerful pieces of data and knowledge for you to know. But then the incredible thing is Ziva knows, and they can help curate and personalize its recommendations for you, even more so with use. So amazing, so incredible, so grateful to be a part of this journey. Grateful for your friendship, and I'm just so excited. So let's let everyone know the best way to go check out Ziva.
Yes. So right now, Ziva will be launching beta. So you can go to ziva.health online and you can sign up for beta. Yeah. So as soon as we have the beta ready, you'll get an invitation. Mm-hmm. And you'll be one of the few people initially who'll get to test Ziva. Mm-hmm. And as we grow and we learn from you guys, you know, the idea is we learn from you and we will improve it. And for me, Ziva is more than anything else. I am really passionate about seeing healthy people, about seeing disease controlled, reversed. Yes. And I'm very big believer in magic. And you know what? Magic does happen, but sometimes you have to put some effort into the magic.
Yes, it's true. I agree. You know, that sort of self-accountability, that's part of the magic. That's actually that secret ingredient. So, you know, there is magic, and there's doing it for yourself. So Ziva.health, you guys, we're going to be sharing about this. We're going to post, remind, go up, sign up for beta, you know, give it a shot and share it. Let us know what you think. This has been amazing. Thank you so much, my friend. It's so great to see you. And I get to see you tomorrow too, right? So twice. Okay, yeah.
All right. Everyone, take charge, live well. Remember, you control your health, you control your feelings, you control every decision. So, you know, don't let anybody tell you what you can't do or you can't control, because you are the CEO of your own health.
Yes. I love it. Thank you guys so much. All right. We'll talk soon. Bye.